All good. All right, the cabin doors have been closed. I want to make sure that your tray tables are in the upright position. Get ready to, wrong venue. No. Hey guys, this is really exciting to be a part of. We've been kind of thinking about and planning for this 5-week series all in, but more so, how can we rally kind of our troops together, which are you guys, leaders, and as we launch into the fall, have some time where we can give you some information, but more so we can just share a vision about what's coming, where we think the church is going, where we think God's calling us to go along the way. So we're going to tackle all of that today. And there's some new things that are happening. And so our online pastor, Connor, has been working with some of our other sites. And so you see some cameras here, have a microphone on. We're actually doing both a live stream and also we're recording this for our Herscher site. And we're also recording this for Shenoa Baptist. And so some of you may have heard of Shenoa Baptist. It's in Shenoa. And they are actually joining us for the 5-week series All In. And so I'll say it this way, like, guys, congratulations and welcome. We're excited. We have pizza, but not for you. But maybe we'll bring some up to you guys. But thanks for joining us in the midst of this. We think God's going to move in a lot of different ways. And so I'm going to have to look here and here at the same time. We'll see how that goes. So bear with me on that one. But really, this has to do with Love McLean. And so some of you even have that T-shirt on. God's been moving us towards this idea of what does it look like to put our faith in action? What does it look like for us to really love and serve the people and places around us? So we'll get into that today. I had the opportunity to, my wife and I have had the opportunity to walk alongside of a couple that got married yesterday, actually. And I've known the groom for quite a long time, and we've just been able to journey with him and got to know now his bride along the way. And we had our last premarital on Wednesday morning. We've been meeting on our front porch. We just call them porch talks at 7 a.m. because that's what worked for our schedules. And most of the kids were still quiet or at least asleep at Team Sniff's house. So we'd sit on the front porch and do that. Our last porch talk, I just asked them, hey, 1 year from now, right? You've been preparing for yesterday is what it was, and all these efforts are going into that. But fast forward a year, and what do you want to be a part of your marriage, your relationship, when you look back over this first year of marriage? What do you want to be there? And they said the right answer, which is like, we want to be more in love and serve and be kind to one another. But the next thing that they said was really interesting to me. I think it applies to us today. And they said, we really want to be an authentic community that challenges us to get out of our comfort zones and grow. And I was like, wait, hold on. What's that? As a small group pastor, I'm like, can you say that again? Anyway, but they were meaning it from the bottom of their heart because they know firsthand what it's like to have people around you that are supporting you and calling you to more, not just for one another, but beyond that. And so they are talking purpose language. They're talking about even this idea of being on mission and things like that. I want you to hold that for a while as we go through today, because that is actually a picture of what we hope to see happen over the next 5 weeks, but really over the next 5 years with Love McLean along the way. I've always had this saying that I think people are one invitation away from a transformed life, but I think in light of where we're going with Love McLean, I think people might be one experience away from a transformed life. And so you're going to hear this phrase ad nauseum as we go forward, but we literally want to move all of us, move our faith just from a faith to action. We want to move into love and good deeds. We think along the way that you and your groups will grow even more because you're looking outward. There's some research that indicates some of that stuff along the way too, but we've seen that in action. So we have actually invited a number of folks to try this out through the spring and summer, and we've been hearing some really cool stories about when we get out of our comfort zones, and when we pray and ask the Holy Spirit to say, God, what do you have for us in this place, or what do you have for me with this person? There's some really cool things that happen along the way. That's what we're asking you guys to do as we move forward along the way. So real quick, there's some things that we'll disseminate to you about All In just a little bit, but I want to remind you of one of the bedrocks for small groups. And so some of you have heard this, but we have 4 values that we want to see in every single small group. And In typical Eastview fashion, we have an alliteration along the way, and they're the 4 S's. So we want everyone to be seen, we want everyone to feel safe, we want everyone to be shaped, and we want everyone to be sent. And so here's what that means real quick. Everyone being seen means that we notice and engage people exactly where they are. And so you guys know this with your groups, right? You have people and individuals, you have couples that are in way different places along the way. If you created a spectrum, you could place them at different places, not just with their growth, but just in life and what they're going through and things of that nature. But we want everyone, even if they just step in for a moment to see your group, we want them to be noticed and engaged with. And so that's a value that can play itself out. Many of you know how to do that really well. That's why you've been leading for a little bit, or that's why people are invited into your group, because you can create those spaces. So that's what that seen piece means. The safe is that once people are noticed, we just want everyone to be able to feel like they can begin to open up and let go of some of the things that they're holding on to, open up some of the layers, getting down into the true self, if you're a counselor or a psychologist, that true self that's inside, that you kind of hope people know, but you kind of hold back because you don't know how they're going to respond if they really know. We want to create environments where that part of us can really come out. I'm hoping that you have had experiences along the way with that, or that we're creating that environment. So we want people to feel safe, so that all of that then sets the stage for people to then be shaped, to become disciples, devoted disciples of Jesus along the way. When that happens, then we can send everybody out in their workplace, in their families, with their friends, in this community, to then go and find and invite and make other disciples, just as we're called to do along the way. So those are the 4 S's. We'll say those probably a lot along the way. Sent, shaped, safe, seen. I went backwards on that one. Sent is the last one. Send them out. Send them out. Thanks for tracking with me, guys. I appreciate that. So, all right, one more thing about this, and then I'm going to transition over to Stuart, and he's going to give you a little bit more details. But maybe you sense this. We have heard this a lot over the last year and a half, and this is a little bit a product of kind of what we've experienced, is that we experienced something a couple years ago, and so kind of that made us go like this, insular, making sure that we're okay and one another is okay, and that was good. It's really good. But now you guys maybe sense this. A lot of folks, maybe you are as leaders, are leery. You're tired. We're hearing that, we're sensing that. Group members are kind of, maybe they're falling off along the way, or they're just kind of staying like this. And I just want to say real quick, like, we see that. We experience that kind of in our own groups along the way. So you're not alone in that. I just encourage you, reach out to our team, our staff. We would love to walk alongside of you in the midst of that. And there's some things that we're seeing that can help bolster some new life along the way. We really want everyone to go from contributing to consuming in the midst of where we're at and where we're going. So hold all of that in tension. And now we're going to start to get into a little bit more of this fall. So here we go. Stuart, everybody.
Thank you, Jason. Oh, all right, a slow clap.
Yeah.
Man, if I wasn't nervous already, the slow clap introduction is definitely going to add to that. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Stuart Blade. I'm the Associate Pastor of Small Groups. And this morning, I'm going to feel like a really big suck-up because I am going to talk about a book written by our very own Jason Smith. So to give you a context for this, in the summer, I decided to do an independent study class called Research Methods. We had to do, one of our projects was to find a survey that had been conducted and kind of like look through the survey of how it went down. And so I chose Jason's book to be the one that I would do. So we'll have a one-on-one later and we'll discuss all the talking points there. But what I came to is some things that just solidified what we're seeing is just naturally happening and it's working well within groups. And so the first one that we wanted to talk to you guys about is transparency within our groups. And I question what, like, the story that I want to share with you is one that I question whether it's honoring or honesty. But one of the groups that we had just learned about, there were it breaks my heart to learn that there were 4 divorces that took place within a small group. And there's a big part of me that wonders, like, what could have changed if transparency was modeled within that small group. And I want to tell you, this is difficult. I want to admit that this is hard because my wife and I, after 9 years, we left our small group and we started a new one. And I told my wife, I said, well, the first thing I want to do is just to get to know everybody's story. And then she said, okay, well, if we're going to expect that of them, how honest are you going to be of your own? And I cringed for a little bit and I said, oh, I'm going to be really honest with my own story. And what happened in that context when we stepped into that moment, that gave permission for some couples to share some stuff that they had not said outside of a counseling office. And so I just want to encourage you, this book talks specifically the depth of which your small group is going to go is going to stay at the level of which you as the leader are willing to go. And so I want to encourage you in this season where we need vulnerability, we need honesty, we need transparency in groups more than ever. More than ever are we experiencing groups that have just faded away, they've fallen apart, and we need our leaders to model what that looks like. So I just want to encourage you in that way, and I wouldn't encourage you if I weren't willing to take that risk myself. And I want to affirm you, it is risky to do that. It is risky, but it's absolutely worth it, and we got to experience that within our small group. So I'm just going to read two things because I love it and it's well said, and it says model vulnerability. Leaders must set the stage for both reflective sharing as well as being honest with their weaknesses. Too often, new leaders and current leaders feel they need to prove that they have it all together. However, others will identify with them more in their weaknesses than their strengths, leading to cultivation of trust and depth. And it went on to say this one in another area. As a leader, you must remember it takes courage for your members to be vulnerable with their life stories. And it starts by you sharing your own story. And so that's the first one. When we launch back into groups, I hope this is a moment, like a defining moment for you and your group to launch back into that and then do it well and model that. The other one that we wanted to address within here, and don't worry, I will not be talking about all these tabs. If you're looking at these and being like, okay, this is going to be a good one, like, don't worry. Nope. One of the research that they found out was leaders, a leader-only ownership is a ticking time bomb for burnout. And this book was published in 2020, but written when? 19 to 20. So pre-COVID is when a lot of this came out. And it said leaders are on a road to burnout of 2 years. And what we just had in a discussion with some of our team is we would argue that that number is extremely off. And I would say, at this point, we don't know what 2 years would be, but we would, my personal assessment would be, if you're doing everything, if you're hosting, if you're leading, if you're sending out the prayer requests, if you're organizing the child care, like I know that's one for our group, if you're doing all those things, then you're on a natural road to burnout. Leading a small group will be exhausting for you. And so I want to encourage you guys. One of the things that we did is we took that, the spiritual self-assessment tool that ECU has. It's part of your profile, and we can send that out as a link to you guys to take that. And what I really appreciated is not to learn my strengths, but I actually appreciated to learn my weaknesses. And one of my incredible weaknesses is, out of a scale from 1 to 100, I was a 1.8 on administrative skills. So, number one, thank you to Laura, because at this point, since she came in, I have been challenged to have a sign on my desk that says, "But first, could Laura do this?" And so that is definitely a help to somebody like myself who just does not have an administrative brain. And so when we came into our small group, I didn't talk to my wife about sharing this, but she did not score much higher than I am, so she's a 3. So how we get bills paid and our kids in school and all those things, like, it's a miracle in itself. But that's all on her 3% that's riding there. But when we came into our small group, we just knew that wasn't going to naturally be a fit for us. And so we said, hey, who are administratively skilled people? And so we had one girl raise her hand. She's amazing. She took all the birthdays of everybody and laminated them on a card, and now we have like this laminated piece of paper on our fridge with everyone's birthday, all 17 kids in our small group, all of their birthdays are on there, and she's the one who starts saying, like, when those come out, she's the one who initiates that, and we thank her for that. She also takes the prayer request and does that. We have other people who help us with organizing childcare and making sure that the sitters get paid. Like, all these things really help us as we're facilitating. We just need those additional things done for us. So my question for you is, and this one's tag number 3 here, so just specifically, questions for you to ask. And if you're answering down like us or me or we do, keep track of how many that would be. Who's scheduling food? Who's sending out the prayer requests? Who's securing childcare? Who's following up with the people outside of group all the time? Who's organizing or maybe taking meals to a group? Who's organizing service opportunities outside of your group? And so all of these things, especially as we move into all in, where who are your 3? Who are your invitations? Where are your places? This cannot fall solely on this group within here. Which also makes me just want to pause, like, we almost outgrew this room right now, which is a huge thank you to every one of you, because like you saw this as a priority and you're here. And so like seriously, from everyone on staff that I'm looking at in small groups land, like thank you so much for making this a priority and being here. Like this means a lot to us. The fact that we had to go next door and go bring more chairs, that is not a concern for us. That was a blessing for us. So thank you for that. The last one is just please be in communication. I saw a leader when I was working at the kiosk. I saw somebody in a group. And so they were walking by and I asked the typical questions like, are you in a group? And they said, yes, we're in a small group. And I said, that's awesome. Can you tell me who your leader is? Because sometimes we'll find some new leaders that we didn't know existed. And so they said the name and I'm like, oh, that's great. I know that leader. I'll have to reach out to them and say, great job. And then the last question was, when was the last time your group met? And so that's where I got the cringe on their face of being like, ugh. And it's like, okay, so follow-up conversation there. And I get it, like summer, our group, like we went practically a month because nobody was just here. And so we're traveling and it's vacation. And so we get those things. But we really want to encourage you guys, be in communication with your group members. Let them know about the study that's coming up on the 28th. Encourage them, if they haven't been for a while, encourage them to come back or join us at Starting Point to help them get plugged into a group. And that's all I have. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right, so this will be interesting, but I want to give you about 5-ish minutes at your tables or in your areas, if you will, and just talk about with one another. You guys are current leaders, so you've been around the block at least once or twice or 10 or 20 times. But how have you started groups back up again for the fall? So what are just some of the ways that you get everybody rallied? Maybe you're already doing that and you stayed consistent through the summer. But maybe you haven't, and that's okay. So just take a few minutes with the people around you, talk amongst yourselves, and just talk about what are the ways in which you get your groups back going for the fall. Ready, set, go.
So we're still recording, but as anticipated, there's so many people on staff. The Wi-Fi goes just everything. Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Every 5 seconds, I'm getting Wi-Fi doesn't work. Wi-Fi doesn't work. I already messaged Connor. I'm like, no live stream. We'll watch it at 11.
Yeah.
So,
no worries. Okay.
Anyway.
Thank you.
But red means it's recording, so that's still
Still good.
I'll test it.
Look at that. All right, 2-minute warning. 2 minutes. Oh boy. Oh yeah, so you can get this maybe? One minute warning. No. Yes, thank you. Lord.
I've got books without covers, so we have the covers.
Okay.
Looking at them out, make them.
Okay. All right, time to wrap up. Wrap up your thought, conversation. I'm waiting on Stuart. Just kidding. All right, I'm gonna corral us back together, right? So hopefully, even just in those last few minutes, you're sensing another thing that we feel is really important for you as a leader, which is community amongst leaders, right? And that peer-to-peer kind of piece. And so some of you have been in a kind of a coaching huddle for a while, and so thank you for continuing that. COVID kind of really wrecked a lot of those types of things, wrecked a lot of stuff, but that as well. But we, as a team, staff team, are available for you, but there are also a lot of folks around you that I think would be helpful to rally and support you guys along the way. It's probably easy to say it this way, like you're not supposed to lead alone. And so the more that you guys can connect with one another as leaders, the more you can enrich and spur and stir one another on. So a little PSA for that one about you just don't need to lead alone, and we don't want you to. So this is a community for a reason, right? That's why we like getting together in person, and hopefully those that are joining us through the recording, like you guys sense that as well along the way. So in just a moment, we're going to get into all this all-in stuff, but maybe paint the picture as to why this is important. So if you think back, February 13th-ish, I think, it was a Sunday, and Mike revealed, hey, here's what Love McLean's going to be about, and then he called us to pray for the next 6 months. And so, we've been doing that, right? Maybe it's a roller coaster up and down as we remember it, but we're just called to think about 3 people, 3 places, and praying through that. In the midst of that, we actually my wife and I went back a little bit before that, and I had the opportunity to do a sabbatical last summer, and we'd kind of been praying through just our neighborhood and just wanting to get to know more people. We were noticing more people were moving in and things of that nature. There was a couple kind of down and around the corner that we would just see on walks along the way. We'd just been praying for an opportunity to get to know them, and that happened. And then through the course of last summer, we had a friendship. Our kids started hanging out a lot. Anyway, and then fast forward, they invited into our small group. I say that because they now are going through a really difficult time and a really difficult season. And so things happen for a reason that you don't necessarily know. There's a seed that's always planted, right? And so I hope that they feel that they have a community of people around them right now that are loving and supporting them along the way. We were just impressed upon the need to pray for an interaction with neighbors, and it just so happened to be them. Now we're in it, right? And we're going to stay in it with them along the way. I share that not to say anything about me, but say everything about the Holy Spirit and how the Holy Spirit works and moves. And I think that story can multiply itself over 1,000 times over the next 3 to 4 years with Love McLean. And so all of that to say, all in is really our phase 1, if you want to be technical about that, our way to get all of us, the whole church family, into this mindset, and then into this behavior of what does it look like for us to live for the people around us along the way. And so, again, you'll hear this phrase. It's a 5-week series that's going to help us move our faith into action. And the whole reason for that isn't just to say, hey, look, we're loving people and we're serving people. It's so that people can come to know Jesus, and so that people and places within this county or within whatever county we're living in will come to know that there is a truth, and there is a way, and there is life that comes through Jesus. That's our ultimate goal. All in is a way to get us to start moving in a good direction in that way. It's a way for us as groups to begin to really hone in on a mission and one place or one group of people that we're, as a group, going to go after and love and serve in however the Holy Spirit moves us. So that's the backdrop for us. I want to show you a lot of just information that will help you as leaders so that you can speak to it. Hopefully you guys can see that over there as well, and hopefully it shows up on the cameras. But if you're thinking of dates, I kind of think in this way. So linear fashion of dates. Here's all of what All In is going to be. So August 23rd, I believe, is a Tuesday. We are doing a night of prayer on all campuses. And so in light of even just this whole thing where Mike has called us to pray, it seemed wise and fitting that we start this in prayer. And so that's going to be at 6:30 p.m. On all campuses. So normal campus, Bloomington campus, online campus. And the online campus will get to see the prayer time from the normal campus, just like what we do on a Sunday. And nothing fancy or flashy. Mike's going to be leading us in prayer prompts for our counties along the way. But that's really what kicks it off. So if you need an excuse to rally your troop, your group together, you can start with this and just say, hey, we're gonna start with this. The cool thing is that on the very back end of All In, so Friday, September 30th, is going to be a night of worship. And so we start this whole thing in prayer, we end it in worship, and it's kind of a launching into now go and do kind of thing. So those are the bookends of All In. And then every week has some specific outcomes that we hope to see everybody go after. And so a couple things happen on week 1. We have what we're calling Meet Your People event. So anybody that's new that's getting into groups will meet on each campus. That's when they'll get to know their groups. That's when we'll give them all the information that they need along the way. But also for week 1, some of you have done this already. It's okay. We're going to go back to having everybody identify 3 places in their life that they already are in, that they're already involved in, that the Holy Spirit's prompting them to pray intentionally about. And so that will be the outcome for your group, is for everyone to write that down. I'll show you the booklet stuff that you have already in just a second. Week 2 is the outcome is 3 people. Again, 3 people in your life that the Holy Spirit's prompting you to pray for. And that prayer is an intentional prayer of God, will you give me insight? Will you allow a conversation to happen? And so we're intentionally praying for things of that nature. Week 3 is a really interesting one. We'll see. I'm really excited to see how this goes. But you're going to, the theme is identify a resource. So if you think of the story of Barnabas selling his field and giving it to the biblical community to be used for the kingdom, we're going to do that on an individual level. And so we're just going to trust that the Spirit's going to lead you. Maybe there's something that you have that you can sell. Maybe there's something that you do that you generate money for. But we're going to ask you to prayerfully consider what is one thing that you can use financially to support and to love a place or a people. That's an individual thing, all right? That'll make more sense as we kind of go through the study. But that's the 3rd week. 4th week, we begin to pivot from individual into group life. And so there's a very specific call to action that Mike will do during the sermon that has to do with giving financially for the church. So there's a call to sacrifice giving-wise. From a group standpoint, we're going to specifically ask you guys as groups to really hone in on what's one place that you as a group are sensing that God is leaning you towards, right? And so if you have it, you can define it that week, but at least we want you to pray and consider during your group time what is, one place, right? So let's play this out, right? If you guys are a group, we got 3, 6, 7 people with 3 different places. That's 21 potential places. You can choose just one of those and go. We want you to think about over the next 4 months, what's one place that your group together can really rally around. And so we're really trying to shift that in week 4. And then in week 5, the major outcome is what we're calling a mission action plan. I'll show you what that looks like in just a few minutes. We have some slides for that. It's an online tool that will help you and your group really define that place, and then some steps to get into it. Because I know this for myself, like, hey, that sounds great. We're going to go and we're going to love and serve. But then there's that first step, and then I usually just stop, right? So we're trying to eliminate as many obstacles as possible to help you along the way. We got a lot of resources that will be introduced during this study. If your group is trying to figure out a place and you can't quite land on something, we're going to help you do that. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you to do it. And we're only asking you to do it for 4 months. So if you think from now through the end of the year, that's what it is. And then we'll come back in January and we'll say, hey, you can keep going with that same mission, or if your group wants to pivot and do something else, that's fine too. So you're not committing for life, you're just committing for the next 4 months. And then again, we have the worship and celebration. So those are the dates on that. We'll send this out too on our Facebook leader page. So if you're not connected into that, I think you have to friend one of us on staff first, and then we can get you in. So do that. We'll get you going on that. We'll pause for a second. Any questions on the dates part of this? I just tossed a lot out. That's easy for me to know because I've been thinking about this for 9 to 10 months, right? But maybe this is the first time that you've heard it. So okay. All right. Now I want to get into our resources, and there are 2 main resources. If you have this booklet, you can get that out right now. And if you're joining us online, you probably will have these. If not, we'll make sure that you guys get these along the way. But you might be used to a 170 to 210 page book in years past, right? That's what this is. It's in 32 pages, I think. And if you call them pages, because they're really small, right? But this is the main resource that we're using for All In. Okay, and there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in a second. There's also a fully interactive digital version of this that will be on eastviewresources.com. It's actually there right now. And so if you want to download that, you can use that as well. But this is a physical copy of it along the way. So this is your main resource for the study. And then I'll show you in just a few minutes the mission action plan. That's the main outcome that we want to see after All In. So if you think of years past, we have had some great studies and some things that help people understand Jesus more and grow and begin to live a dynamic life. We are doing it in a different way. We are really trying to move everybody into action. And we have some resources and studies for you along the way. But really the most important thing isn't what happens during this, but what happens after this, right? That's going to be the test for all of us. If our group members are understanding this, if we're understanding this, if we're taking ownership of this, is whatever happens in October, in November, in December, that will be the telltale sign of if we're all in along the way. Hopefully that makes sense in just a little bit. But you can follow along with me on your phone, or if you have an iPad, whatever. If you go to eastviewresources.com, you will see this. Nope, I went the wrong way. One more. There you go. You'll see this. This is not interactive, so I can't touch it and move it this way. But this is the main page for eastviewresources.com. This is where we want everybody to go for two reasons. And these are the two reasons. One is anybody that needs to join or start a small group, they can go here. And so even if it's an online group, even if they're in Pontiac or if they're in Chenoa or if they're in Herscher, wherever it is, we want people to go here. And I'll show you what that looks like. You can, if you're following along, you'll see this. So once you click that join or start, you're going to come to this, and there's three options for you. One is I'm already in a small group, so encourage your people to go here and let us know that they're already in a small group. When they click that, this interface will change right here, and it will just say who's your leader, and then maybe one more piece of information after that, and then they're done. So it's real quick. That helps us update some things roster-wise because we just know there's been a lot of changes since the last time we've done something like this. So message here, tell your group to go here, sign up real quick. That'd be great. Now, there's two more options. One of them is I have 2 or more friends to start a group. So we found this last year when we did On Purpose, that there's a lot of folks that are like, hey, a group of 10 to 12 is a big deal, but I got 2 couples with me that we can just go through this with. We're going to open that back up again and allow for that to happen. If they click that, then there's some things bits of information. And then the last one is, please connect me to a new small group. So as you're talking with people, and it might not work for them to come into your small group, send them here, and then we're going to get them connected. That's what August 28th is all about. So that's the first piece of that page. The second piece is if you hit the leader resources. This isn't the full page because there's some stuff up top, but this is just a quick picture of what you're going to find here. So here are the resources. The all-in digital booklet, which is the digital version of this, is there and available for you. And then this will make sense in a second. We have a link to the Mike Talks. That's what we are wanting people to do on a daily basis. Instead of a written daily devotion, we're sending people to Mike Talks because he's going to do it in line with this. And then each week, this is going to be really important for you. So we have it's called a leader training session. It's between 6.5 to 10.5 minutes long that really goes in depth with every single one of these outcomes and themes. Literally, like, okay, so you've identified your place. So now what do you do? How do you engage with your place? Here's some ways to do that in a practical standpoint. Or you've identified people, and they've contacted you. Now what do you do, right? Don't ghost them, right? Interact along the way. I say that because I did that the first time one of my people called me. I waited 2 days because I was like, oh, no, this is real now. And then I texted them back. Anyway, that was kind of a chicken. Anyway, but we want you to watch these. You can watch them right now. They're all up there. They're all loaded. But we also want you to show these during your group time. And so we call them leader trainings, but what we're really trying to do is get everybody in on this. And then this part, after you've done the training session, there is what we're calling further study. So if you think traditionally when we've done these types of studies, we've added tons of questions, lots of scripture to go and to do research with and to study and to allow to kind of bring life into each theme. If your group wants that, or if you want that, that's what this is available for. It's really rich. It's really in-depth. I will give a shout-out to Kent and Sue Talby. They help me with research on all this stuff all the time. And so I just embarrassed them. But they do a great job with this, and that infuses itself in the midst of that. So if you're interested in that for yourself or for your group, if they're like, oh, I just want to learn more, that's what this is for. Say, in years past, we'd say, do this, but we're saying this is optional because we really want to get into the actions of that. So that's what Eastview Resources is for you. Now let's get into kind of the scope and sequence. So here's what we want to see happen for every week, right? So everything starts on Sundays with the sermon. If you open up your booklet, you'll actually, you get to see a little picture of McLean County along the way. It's just a reminder of, for us that live here in this county, McLean County is much bigger than Bloomington Normal. And there's a lot of people and places outside of our city limits that need Jesus. So keep that at the forefront. But then you'll see sermon notes, right? We already have the theme. We already have the passage. It may not be a lot of space, but this is where you can write some notes. There's always going to be that call to action on the bottom, which is in line with what we're asking everybody to do in the outcome section. Now turn the page there, if you will, and you'll see that there are 6 scriptures. This is what Mike will do in his Mike Talks. So you can follow along with Mike Talks, or you can just do these devotional passages if you'd like. There's some space there to write a few notes because during your group time, we'll come back to this. And if you turn one more page, you'll see what's called the small group guide. This is your guide for when your group gathers throughout this study. It's not like the 15 questions that we used to do. It's 5 or 6 things that you'll do every week all the way through. So the first thing that we want you to do is remember Sunday. So go back to that, like what stood out from you on Sunday. And there's not a lot of space there, but it provides a little bit of something for you to write in there. Second thing is we want you to review the passages in the Mike Talks. What stood out for you in the midst of that, or for your group. The third thing is what we're calling the Refocus, and that's what this video is for. We want you to show this video in your group that will allow you to talk through and get some discussion going. And then there's always a response, and this is the outcome portion for each week. And so in week 1, it's identify your 3 places. So you'll write those down, you'll share them with one another, and then pray over them in the midst of this time together. And then there's just a reminder about the resources. Go to eastviewresources.com for these types of things. And there's other resources that will pop up throughout the weeks along the way. That's the rhythm that we're looking at every week. So Sundays, Mike Talks, group time, put it in action. And it rinses and repeats for 4 more weeks after that. So there you go, in the midst of it. Let's see. I think that's it for details on the resource. So I'll pause. Any questions about this? Yes, sir.
Will the Mike Talk start like on that Sunday? I just asked for groups to be on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Preparing our group for that first Sunday, we'll have the content already done. But if the Mike Talks aren't available till in that week, that will affect how we approach it.
Great question. So Dave just asked, like, when will Mike Talks be available? They'll just be available on the day that they are. So if you look at week 2, the small group guide for week 2, from week 2, 3, 4, and 5, the first thing on the review is, what did you see God do in this past week? And so that's where, if you're a group that meets on a Monday or a Sunday, maybe a Tuesday, that's where we'll ask you to go backwards and just say, where did you see God move in the midst of last week? It could be from the devotionals, because people have had a chance to read through them. It could also be like, hey, I prayed for a place and I actually walked into it and there's a conversation with a barista, or there's a conversation with somebody that I hadn't seen in 3 years. Like that's what that time is for in the midst of that. So you could facilitate it as, hey, we're a group that meets on Sunday. You guys didn't have a chance to go through this last week. Anything from last week's Mike Talks before we move forward, or anything from, that's what that space is. It's provided. And you know, it as leaders, there's always just some things that you just have to kind of maneuver. We trust that you'll do that in the midst of it. It's a great question. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. If you have some, feel free to let me know on the back end. I really want to get to this. So we say all in 5-week series, going to move our faith into action. And then the big question is, well, how do we do that? And so the major outcome I've said is this mission action plan. And so this is not live yet, on Eastview Resources, but it will be around week 3. But I want to show this to you guys because if you have this in your mind as you start all in, it's going to just help your group kind of get to this place by week 5. And so it'll literally be called Mission Action Plan, or MAP for short. There'll be a link to it. There's a lot of reasons why we're doing this online. One is that this will link to your group profile as well. And so when you, again, our goal is for every group to define one place that you're going to love and serve for the next 4 months. And then when you do that, you're going to define it through this, and then it will go into your group profile so anybody in your group can see that along the way. It actually also gives us some data pieces so that we know, like, hey, there are 20 groups that have said that they're going to do Grove Elementary. That allows us to then do some specific things and work with groups that are in similar fashion along the way. We're okay if that happens because we want this to be organic. So there's 2 things that you can do. We know that some people might want to do this as a family, so they could just click that. Or for all of us in this case, there's the create a plan for my small group. So you click that, right? And then the next page is going to be what step 1 is for your mission action plan. Everything begins in prayer when we're doing this. And so it's just a prompt. Pray, ask the Holy Spirit to guide you along the way. Your next step will be to do 2 things. You can see like this little box up here. We want you to put a place in there. It says, we will love and serve the following place. We as in your small group. And so it could be Grove Elementary. It could be Renegades under 12 travel baseball team. It could be Bloomington Public Library. It could be United Way, whatever that place. It could be your neighborhood. It could be like the 1300 block of Shannon Drive. Whatever that is, we just want you to place that in there. And then this is going to be an interactive map that you can just drop a pin on as close as you can to where your place is. Again, all of that helps us know, A, what you're doing, but then we can spur you on to that, and we can help you along the way. So that's step 2 is identifying your place. And then this is really step 3 is really create your plan, right? So it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to serve these people, but then you got to do it. And so this is going to help you. There's a start and end time. This will automatically default to December 31st of this year, and you can change that date if you want, or sometime at the end of the year, I think is how it's going to go. It's a reminder that we want you to do it for 4-ish months. The next thing is, who's your point of contact? And so often, what stalls groups out is that they don't know who to contact first. So we want you to help identify that. I'll give you some more information on how to do that in a second. And then the next thing is, what's your first step? What are you going to do first? What are you going to do second? That kind of thing. Again, we're creating a plan. You're creating a plan for your group. And then the last one, this is a really interesting one, is who do you want to hold your group accountable? And so as this gets developed out, I think there'll be options. You could say the small group team. You could say somebody else. But we just find, not in a bad way, but in a good way, in a positive, encouraging, the cloud of all witnesses, right? Hebrews 12 that says there are people cheering you on. That's what this is for, right? Is to not just say we're going to go after this, but we're also going to tell some people so that they can support us along the way. This will become your mission action plan that you can access at any time and that you can move forward in along the way. So this is different, right? We have not asked any groups to do this type of thing in the past. We haven't asked you to give this type of information. More so, we haven't asked you to really define this and go after this. And so I think it'll be stretching a little bit. Personally, I think it'll be stretching, even just for the rhythms of my own group. But if we're going to get after this vision of Love McLean, if we're going to get after people and places, then we think that this is a good tool that will help us in the midst of that. So that's the major outcome. Define a mission action plan along the way. There's a lot more things to say on that, but I'm just going to pause and I'm going to give you guys some time at your tables just to talk through this. If you actually wouldn't mind also just spending a little bit of time praying over all this, because again, it's great to say, hey, here's our plans, here's what we're going to do, but really it's the Holy Spirit that's going to move us into the midst of this and really make it happen along the way. So take about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then I'll wrap us up at the end, and you're certainly welcome to linger and have some more food along the way. But just take a few minutes, pray over this, discuss anything that you've just heard, Ready, set, go. How did that show up?
Huh?
Did that show up okay? On the,
Yeah, it was fine, yeah. Yeah, just to back up. I was wondering on this slide, what was happening here with the white text. Just sort of,
You know, my PowerPoint skills.
when I loaded that, and I'm like, okay, Jason, we'll keep it ready.
Yeah.
Let's say that one group is like wanting to pay to like chefs net health systems, and you see on the back end like, oh, there's 2 other groups that are doing that. Do you like let us know so we can connect with each other?
Yeah.
Oh, there's too many groups in this round.
Yeah, we will do that. We really wrestled with how much on the front end do we control, maybe, and not in a bad way, but like versus allow just people to choose it. And so we've kind of leaned more on the let's just see what people do, and then we can both fill in the gaps and we can help rally people along the way. So.
And so that where you the contact person, do we leave that blank or response back from like you guys know the contact person?
Yeah, it just, some people will know who to contact right away. So you can put that in, and for others, they won't. But I forgot to mention something, so I'll mention that at the very end. Like there's some really fun things that we've done through the spring to help figure out what some needs are and who point people are. So thank you for that.
I can see like
Yeah.
maybe a couple of the same groups reaching out to the same place, like, oh, another group's already contacted them. You know,
Yeah.
just that kind of like not mix up, but too many people contacting Refocus instead of us. So let's keep ourselves safe. And then the other question was, I think one person who served that, she's really sweet. I love her.
We're thinking of that same. She was thinking that same place too. You know, like so it won't fall on your shoulders.
Part of our prayer list.
So not 4 people who could be in the
Text
same
messaging
place.
and stuff.
That makes
And I know
sense.
she
Now,
works
what
a
can
lot,
we do in
but
that place that makes a difference?
I need to just come to the point where
I knew.
it's group or not, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of don't want to have that conversation, but it kind of is it because I kind of need to know if you're going to be with us for the next 5 years.
Yeah. That I feel you're right on with that in the sense of maybe 2 different things. One is, hey, we're going here and we'd love for you to come. How can I help you get, just come for 5 weeks, right? So there's that, or like, hey, it's almost like a graceful out in the sense of like, we're going this way. If you're not able to, that's fine. How can we help you stay connected? So maybe it's, I have no idea the scenario, but maybe it's that there's 1 or 2 people in the group that would just keep tabs on, or maybe that's you. Anyway, I feel it's okay to call people towards it, right? Because in all honesty, we're going to have some groups that are going to really do this, and we're going to have others that are like, but we're still going to go, and we're going to say, hey, come with, right? But we're going, and so, anyway.
Yeah. So we just
Scenario.
met back yesterday, actually. We had a potluck here, breakfast, and there's 13 people in our group, so there's like maybe 5 or 6 ish, which is good.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. So
Yeah.
it's like, if we have 5 or 6, then that's, there's still people on vacation.
Yeah.
But usually we do something during the summers. Last year we went boating, we did dinner, but this year it's just like, just busy.
We felt that too.
Work was busy for me.
Yeah. We had one time this summer where a representative from every family was there. Not everybody, but just like we had 7 in our group, 7 couples, and all 7 families were represented, right? So we're like, this is awesome.
The kids showed up, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so
Anyway.
it's kind of awkward, coming back together again. And then Dawn, she's my co-leader. She's attending another church now.
Okay.
So like, I'm gonna do these 5 weeks, but I need all of you guys to
Yeah.
go through this with me.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
So, and then I talked to Nikki too about, I know she's mentioned to Nikki too about starting point, having that gap of people
Yeah.
before they go into a small group. So
Yeah.
I told the group, like, I want to continue leading this group, but I may just be, a couple people said that they would step up and be leaders, which is
Okay.
great, and I'll just come, and I'll just be.
Good for you. That's great. Set that precedent,
Anyway,
right?
so all of
Yeah.
that transition is kind of like,
Yeah. Love that.
okay, great, thank you.
But we've never done anything that's been sustained. Has anybody done anything like that?
This one's great.
Guys, one more minute, and then I got one announcement, and then I'll pray over us. All right. Hey, one more thing that I think will be really helpful for you, and kudos to Kat. She reminded me of this. It was on my notes. I even missed it. But some of you are probably rightly asking, okay, well, what if we're not able to easily define a place? Is there any help for us? Or even like a first contact along the way. And so what's super cool is that we have these things internally that we just call WIN teams. It's interdepartmental collaborations at Eastview. Sounds corporate, but it's really cool. But through the spring, Doug Roberts and a group of other folks from different departments went around town, contacted a lot of different organizations, and just said, if you guys could get a little bit more help, what's the one thing that a group of people could help out with, our church could help out with, whatever it could be, what would be helpful for you? And amassed a huge list of different things. And so, I mean, it's massive. So many different data points and different things, even things from like, there's a massive substitute teacher shortage for Unit 5 in District 87, massive. And so, like, we're thinking about how can we help out with that? Well, maybe your group decides to all be substitute teachers. I don't know. But you could. You choose one day a week, right? I know it's. I went with the most outrageous one just to see how this would go. Anyway, my point in that is that you don't have to do that. But we will have a site that we're going to launch during the study. It's just called our Love McLean County page. It's going to be ongoing throughout this whole vision. And on there are going to be kind of different tiered opportunities for your group to serve. With that, we have contact points, people of contact that you and your group can go after. So that's what I was saying earlier, is that we have resources available for you. If your group can't quite get there, it's totally fine. We think some groups are going to go after this right away. We think some groups are going to be like, we really want to, we just don't know how. That's what that resource is for. That's what our team is for, is to help you define that and move forward. We're not putting all those data points on there, but we're just we have 5 different themes and categories. And one of those is the substitute teaching, just so you know. But there are others too. Anyway, we want you to succeed in the midst of this. We want to do everything that we can so that you guys can shine in our community, so that your groups can really understand, gosh, I love Jesus, but I want to help other people love Jesus as well. And so if we can get our groups to do this, we're going to be on mission, and it's going to cause a movement along the way. So let me just pray over you guys. Thanks so much for being here. It's really fun to see you all. So, oh God, it's just great how you're always moving. I'm so appreciative for each person in this room and just how you've called them to you first and foremost. And God, it's a lot really to corral people in groups. It just is. And there's joy and there's sorrow and there's tension and there's conflict and there's potential and disappointment. There's all sorts of things that happen when we all get together. God, I just pray a specific blessing over each one of these leaders, that you will encourage them with whatever they have in their life, that you will strengthen them, and that, God, you will help them spur their families and their friends, spur their groups on to love and good deeds. God, not just so that things happen, but so that you can get the glory and the people will return to you. We ask these things in your name. Amen. All right. Oh, one more thing. We also have these leather booklet covers for your stuff. So Molly has those over there if you want to grab them. So you're welcome to hang out for a little bit. Our next meeting is not till 11. Lots of food. Take it with you if you need to.
Yes, please take more cookies.
Thank you, guys.